Hello everyone, let us check out the solutions to class 7 biology half yearly examination. So let us take up in the beginning the MCQs. A type of fluid connective tissue is, what is it? It is lymph. Mycelium is found in which kingdom of organisms? Fungi. Green plants that have rhizoids belong to Bryophyta, yes. Animals belonging to this phylum have segmented body composed of rings, Annelida. Photosynthesis can occur in the absence of oxygen, not in the absence of carbon dioxide. It needs carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the one of the raw materials for photosynthesis, but it can occur in the absence of oxygen. Fundamental tissues. What are the fundamental tissues? All of the above are the fundamental tissues. Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, all of the above are fundamental tissues. Formative tissues. What are the formative tissues? The meristematic tissues are called as the formative tissues because they give rise to the new tissues. Now let us take up this part over here. Milk is converted to curd by the action of what? Lactobacillus. Fluid part of the blood is plasma. Which of these animals has a backbone? Snake, because it belongs to reptilia. It is a vertebrate. All the rest of them are invertebrates. Bone and cartilage are types of what is tissue? Skeletal tissue. Dash are considered to be on the borderline of living and non-living organisms. What are these? Viruses, right? The backbone is made up of several small bones called vertebrae. Euglena moves with the help of flagellum. Flagella is plural, flagellum is singular. Cell wall of fungi is made up of chitin. That is what the cell wall of fungi is made up of. Now let us move on over here. Kidney shaped cells. This over here it will be skeletal tissue. Kidney shaped cells surrounding the stomatal opening. Let us take up a different color pen. What are they called as? They are called as guard cells. Close association between algae and fungi, lichens. Nutrients that are required in lesser quantities are called as micronutrients. Right? Organs of excretion in Annelida, they are called as nephridia. The scientist who proposed the 5 kingdom classification was of course Robert H. Whittaker. Define the following classification. So how do we define classification? It is the method of grouping living organisms on the basis of similarities and differences. That is how you define classification. Nucleoid. What is a nucleoid? The nuclear material of bacteria is known as a nucleoid. What are vertebrates? The animals which have a backbone are called as vertebrates. What are angiosperms? The plants that bear seeds which are enclosed inside fruits. So they have closed seeds. So organisms that have closed seeds enclosed inside the fruit are classified as angiosperms. Photosynthesis. Define photosynthesis. It is the process of preparation of food by the green plants in the presence of light using atmospheric carbon dioxide and water from the soil. So they use atmospheric CO2 and water from the soil to prepare food. Differentiate between the following: epithelial and muscular tissue. Epithelial tissue is the protective tissue, whereas the muscular tissue helps in the movement of the body. So muscular tissue is for movement, epithelial tissue is for protection, right? Platyhelminthes and nematoda, shape of their body. Platyhelminthes have thin and flattened bodies. They are called as flatworms, whereas nematodes, they are called as roundworms. They have narrow and cylindrical body. Difference between gymnosperms and angiosperms on the basis of seeds. We discussed about this just now in the definition of angiosperms. Here in angiosperms, the seeds are enclosed in fruit. So closed seeds or hidden seeds, whereas in gymnosperms, they are open seeds or naked seeds. Binary and multiple fission. In binary fission, the nucleus divides into two, whereas in multiple fission, the nucleus divides into many daughter nuclei, in two daughter nuclei and in many daughter nuclei. As a result of which, in binary fission, you get two daughter cells, and in multiple fission, you get multiple daughter cells or many daughter cells, many daughter nuclei. Prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Let us talk about the structures. So in prokaryotic cell, the nuclear membrane is absent. There is no definitive nucleus over here, whereas in eukaryotic cells, a definitive nucleus is present. Okay. In prokaryotic, it is basically a nucleoid. Now, let us check out the true and false statements. Bread mold reproduces by budding. No, it reproduces with the help of spores. Reserve food in fungi is glycogen. True or false? Yes, it is true. Phloem helps in the transport of water and minerals. No, xylem helps in the transport of water and minerals. Phloem helps in the transportation of food. Starch is formed in all parts of the variegated leaf. No, starch is formed only in the green parts of the leaf. The parts where the chlorophyll is present, the parts where the chlorophyll is not present, starch is not formed over there. Ferns belong to the group Thallophyta. Wrong. Ferns belong to the group Pteridophyta. Now let us look at the match the column bit. Let me bring it a little bit over here. So match the column. Liverworts. Liverworts are found in Bryophyta. Horsetail. Horsetail and ferns, they are a part of Pteridophyta. Penicillium. Penicillium belongs to fungus. Cycas. Cycas belongs to gymnosperms. Paramecium. Paramecium belongs to Protista. So one is extra. Mention the phylum in which locomotion occurs by muscular foot. It is Mollusca. Right. Identify. Let me just shift it a little bit over here. Identify the phylum this organism belongs to. Also give one character of this phylum. This organism belongs to Coelenterata, also called as Cnidaria. And what do we talk about? Their one character. They have tentacles. You can see these tentacles. They have tentacles around their mouth. Right? So you can see that this is their mouth and they have tentacles around it. Mention any two significances of photosynthesis. Now, first and foremost, when we talk about significance, it synthesizes food for everyone. So, all the food that is present on earth is produced or synthesized by plants. So, I am writing it briefly over here, food for all. Then, very importantly, it provides us oxygen for respiration, right? It not only provides us food, it also provides us oxygen, which is so essential for us to survive. If we do not breathe, we will not be able to survive. So, because of photosynthesis, oxygen is released in the atmosphere. Other than that, maintains a balance in the atmosphere, it provides fossil fuels. There are many other byproducts of photosynthesis, that plant products like fibers, gum, medicine, resin, tannin, turpentine, and so many things that plants give us. Mention any two ways in which bacteria are harmful to us. So the bacteria, they cause diseases. So what diseases do they cause? So they cause typhoid, they cause cholera, sorry, what am I writing? This gloria I've written. So they cause typhoid. Typhoid is a bacterial disease. They cause cholera. Pneumonia is also one of the diseases which they cause in animals and human beings. So they are not just harmful to us human beings, they are also harmful to our crops. They cause a lot of diseases in the crops as well. So diseases that they cause in plants are like black rot in cabbage, and what else do we have? Fire blight in potato. So many plant diseases also they cause. Other than that, they can spoil the food items. Also, they can cause, because of which botulism or food poisoning can occur. They spoil food items. Now let us talk about any three advantages of classification. Right? When we are talking about advantages of classification, we need to understand that first and foremost, they make the study of living organisms simple and easy. So they make the study very simple and easy, because we know what we are looking for, right? It organizes the entire living world into such uh, uh, definite groups and categories that it becomes easy for us to learn. Easy identification of different organisms. So you can easily identify as to which organism belongs to which category. Then it helps in placing organisms into different groups. So different groups where this particular organism should be placed, so it also helps to us to decide them. Then whether two organisms share some affinities or some similarities or some relationships, so that we can easily know with the help of classification. It also helps us to understand the possible origin of organisms, how they moved from the simpler forms to the complex forms. So any of these three advantages you can write in this answer. Now let us move on to the next bit. So let me scroll a little bit up. Parasitic fungi. How do parasitic fungi obtain their food? They obtain their food from the living tissues of other organisms. Remember, parasites, they will always be found in a living host. So their hosts are living. Let me scroll this a little bit over to this side so that we can get some space over here. So parasitic fungi, they obtain their food from the tissues of the living host. Mention two ways in which fungi are useful to us. So when we are talking about useful fungi, of course, we are talking about edible fungi, right? So many delicate dishes are prepared using mushrooms. So there are many fungi that are edible. Then yeast. We have yeast, which is an important component of all the bakery industries, right? In baking, in bread making and all. So yeast is a very important component of that. Then we have so many the fermentation. So for fermentation also, fermentation process where food is being prepared, like idli, dosa, and so on. Idli, dosa batter. So they ferment with the help of yeast. So yeast is used a lot, and it also helps in the making of antibiotics. So many antibiotics like penicillin and all, they are made from fungi, right? You have to mention any two ways. How does temperature and availability of water affect the rate of photosynthesis? Now, temperature, if the temperature is not right, that is, if the temperature is too high or too low, then the rate of photosynthesis decreases. So, we need to have an optimum temperature. This optimum temperature, it lies between 20 to 35 degrees Celsius, right? So if the temperature lies between this range, then the photosynthesis proceeds at its maximum rate, otherwise it slows down. Water, how does the availability of water affect the rate of photosynthesis? Availability of water, if less water is available, then the stomata start to close. If there is scarcity of water, then stomata close. Of course, because they have to stop transpiration, they have to stop loss of water through transpiration, so the stomata close. And once the stomata close, then gaseous exchange is not happening at the same speed, so the rate of photosynthesis automatically decreases. What are the functions of the voluntary muscles and the involuntary muscles? So if we talk about voluntary muscles help us to do all the actions that are under our will, such as writing, then running, then what are other actions are there? Writing, running, holding anything that where you use your muscles, where whatever you are doing with your own will, eating as well. So you would not be eating as in putting food into your mouth. So that is the action of voluntary muscle. Now if we talk about the involuntary muscles, then involuntary muscles help us in digestion, they help us in respiration, then they help us in circulation. So heart muscles, remember, they are involuntary muscles. So because those muscles are beating continuously, those muscles are working continuously, so the blood circulates. Draw a neat and labeled diagram of neurons. So I have shown a diagram over here. A simple diagram like this is more than sufficient, where you mark the dendrites, the nucleus, the cell body, axon, and nerve endings. That is all. So that is all you need to mention over here. Now let us talk about what are invertebrates. So what are invertebrates? As the name itself suggests, when the vertebral column is absent, so no vertebral column. Those organisms in which the vertebral column is absent are called as invertebrates. Name two groups of vertebrates that are organisms with a streamlined body. So which are these two groups? Species, they have a streamlined body. Apes, they have a streamlined body. You can name any fishes over here. You can name rohu, you can name pomfret, any fishes. Apes, you can name pigeon, you can name parrot, you can name sparrow, anything. One example of each. I think that should be easy for you to remember. Now let us move on to the other part, where it says, mention one similarity and one difference based on the groups of a lizard and a frog. Now do you remember lizard and a frog? So lizard belongs to reptiles and frogs belong to amphibians. So what are you supposed to do? You have to give one similarity. So if you're talking about similarities, then both of them are cold-blooded, and one difference. So reptiles breathe only through their lungs, whereas the amphibians can breathe through the skin, gills, and the lungs. Right? This difference you can mention. Similarity, you can also write that both of them have the vertebral column because both of them belong to vertebrates. You can also mention a lizard has a dry skin, whereas a frog has a moist and slimy skin. This can also be written. Draw neat and label diagram of amoeba. Amoeba diagram is already given in your book, so you are supposed to draw the diagram. Mention any 3 characteristics in which apes are different from mammals. So first and foremost, the apes have what do the apes have? Apes have feathers on their body, and mammals have hairs. Now remember, we are talking about the differences. So apes, they lay eggs, and mammals, they give birth to young ones, right? So that is how they are different. In birds, wings are present. Their forelimbs have been modified into wings, whereas in mammals, mammary glands are present, which they use to feed their young ones. So those are the differences between apes and mammals. Now let us look at some diagram based question. Identify this organism. So what is this organism? This is a starfish, right? Which phylum does it belong to? It belongs to Echinodermata. Where do these animals occur? They are marine animals, so they would be found in seas and oceans. Right. Now give the chemical equation for the process being shown here. The next diagram you can see over here, it is related to photosynthesis. So you have to give the equation of photosynthesis over here. So just give the word equation. So word equation says carbon dioxide plus water gives carbohydrate. That is the equation given in your book. Carbohydrates plus oxygen plus water, and of course over here it must be in the presence of light and chlorophyll. So this should be the correct equation. Label the parts A and B. So if you see A over here, A is oxygen. Oxygen is being released. B is the hydrilla plant. Give one way by which the rate of this process can be increased. So if we want to increase the photosynthesis, remember, we need to take care of a few things. Now, one thing that we can always do is take it outside and keep it in the sunlight. Keep it in a place where it gets direct sunlight. So you will see that these bubbles that are rising up, they will start to come out more rapidly. Let us take up this last question over here. Identify A, B and C over here. So A, you can see, is the tendon. It attaches the muscle to the bone, that is a tendon. Now C, you have to identify, C is a ligament. It attaches a bone to see the two bones. A ligament attaches a bone to a bone. How are A and C different from each other? I just told you. So tendon, it attaches muscle to the bone. If we are talking about a tendon, it attaches muscle to bone, whereas a ligament attaches bone to bone, right? And you can mention it that acha, B is also there, sorry. So B you also have to identify. So B is what? B is a muscle. How are A and C different? It attaches muscle to bone, it attaches bone to bone, then they are tough. Now tendons, they are tough and non-elastic. These are elastic fibers. Ligaments are elastic fibers, right? So that was that for your biology paper. I hope that all of you got the answers. Thank you so much for watching.